In question 1.2, we're going to jump into the quadratic equations. Okay, we've been given this equation, and we need to determine x if k equals 5. So we're going to chuck this 5 into k's place here. Okay, so as discussed, we just change this k to a 5 as they instructed us to do. And now I can see an x squared, so it's definitely a quadratic equation. It's already in standard form. Everything's on one side and it equals 0. So I can actually factorize straight away. So we're going to start factorizing. And I look at the number in front of x squared, it's a 2. And I'm going to write the factors of 2 underneath each other here. Luckily it's a prime number, so it's only got 2 factors, 1 and 2. And then I'm going to look at the factors of 5 and write them underneath each other over here. And then I'll go across the court like I'm serving in tennis. When I go across the court, I multiply. So 2 times 1 will give me 2. And then I'm going to go across this way. 1 times 5 will give me 5. And now I somehow need to add or subtract these two numbers to get this minus 3 in the middle. And I think I can get that accomplished by saying plus 2 minus 5. Okay, so plus 2 minus 5 is definitely working to get me that minus 3. Now I transpose these signs back in over there. And after I do that, I chuck a little x here, chuck a little x here. And then those form my two brackets. So it doesn't matter what order you write them in. I'm going to write this one first, and I don't have to write this 1 over here. So I'm just going to say x plus 1 for my first bracket. And my second bracket will be 2x minus 5. And now that our quadratic equation is factorized and equals 0, I'm going to hit the banana split, my bro. So I separate factor 1 and factor 2 and make each one equals 0 separately, just like this. So I'll make my first factor, factor 1, equals 0. Or I'll make my second factor, factor 2, equals 0. And then I'll start working with them separately. If you're curious to know why we do that, it's because 0 times anything equals 0. So if I make this bracket or factor 0, I don't care what this bracket is. It can be anything at once. I'm still going to get 0, and it will maintain the integrity of the equation. It will make the equation true. Okay, now I'm going to solve for x separately. So I'm going to take this plus 1 over and it becomes minus 1. In this one, I start by taking the minus 5 over and it becomes plus 5. And then I divide both sides of the equation by 2 to get rid of this 2 over here. And then these 2's cancel with one another. And we get our second answer for x to be 5 over 2. And then we've just got to separate the solutions with the word or. Yes, it's quite a hard for 2 marks. Okay, first mark comes from the factors over here. Second mark comes from the correct 2 answers. In question 1.2.2, they told us to solve the same equation if k equals 4. And they gave you a massive clue over here. Correct 2 decimal places. The alarm bells are ringing, but for the quadratic formula. So if you see this, I want you to link it to this in your brain. You form a cognitive association, bruh. Okay, so let's start off by putting this k value into k's place over there. And after we've done that, before we use the quadratic formula, it needs to be in standard form. So I'm going to analyze, is this in standard form? It's in the right order, x squared first, x in the middle, and the number at the end. And it does equal 0, so it is in standard form. So we're going to go straight ahead into the quadratic formula. Bear in mind this is on your formula sheet, so you do not need to know it off by heart. And then we just need to quickly recognize our a, b, and c values. A is the number in front of x squared. B is the number in front of x, and make sure to take the sign as well. And c is the number without an x, and make sure to take the sign here too. Alright, now that that's done, let's start putting it into this crispy little formula. So I'm going to hit a x equals first of all. And then it's going to be minus b. So it's going to be minus, and then I'll put b in this bracket, so minus 3 goes in there. And then I'll chair that plus minus there. And then the first thing that goes under the root is b squared. Just make sure to use brackets. Okay, and then I've got a minus 4, and then I'm going to put a in this bracket over here. And lastly, I've got to put a c in this bracket over here. My c is -4. And then that sorts out the top. Now we're going to do a huge divide line, and we're going to put 2a at the bottom. And now we're finished with substitution. Now we go to our calculator. Okay, then we're going to type it in our calculator with the plus first. We're going to ignore this minus. So let me just take 6 years to type this in quickly. Yes, I feel like an old man after that. So you can see I've just done the plus one first. Okay, then I'll slap a equals there, and it gives me this. They want it correct to 2 decimal places, so I'm just going to have to S to D here, and then my 2 decimal places are going to be 2,35. And then do not retype the whole thing in your calculator. Just press the right button, up or right, keep going right, and change this plus to a minus, and then press equals and S to D, and there's our second answer, minus 0.85. Yeah, now we're finished. Okay, let's have a look where the 3 marks come from. So 1 mark for the correct substitution, and then 1 mark per pop for each answer.